Special Orders Number 191 having been written, and the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia now being divided, General Stonewall Jackson taking the bulk of this force over to the garrison at Harper's Ferry in an attempt to secure the 10 or 12,000 or so troops that have been left behind between the Harper's Ferry garrison and Martinsburg as well. There are more tasks being assigned to the elements of the Army that are not with General Stonewall Jackson. You could call them missions of sorts. One of those missions brings us here to just outside of Dickerson, Maryland, to the Monocacy Aqueduct, which is a semi-significant part of the Maryland campaign here in 1862, and even before they come here in September of that year. So Matt, tell us, why is this place important, and who comes down here in the early days of September?
Absolutely, Pat. Now, the Monocacy Aqueduct crosses the mouth of the Monocacy River on the C&O Canal, the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, which was built in the 1830s in direct competition to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. It's one of the main arteries of supply and transportation along the Potomac River, allowing navigable boats to move along the Potomac beyond even some of the big rapids down there near
Great Falls and
Great
things
Falls,
like that.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, in 1862, during the Maryland campaign, Confederate forces will attempt to breach the C&O Canal a couple of times. In fact, the first attempts would be by the division of Daniel Harvey Hill that will cross over at Point of Rocks, Maryland, cross over the Potomac River, and they would actually breach the canal near lock number 27. They would come down here to the aqueduct itself, find it to be too massive, and move on. Now, on September 9th, when 191 is written, Lee is going to send John G. Walker's division, which had made its way up to Buckystown, but had not made it all the way to Monocacy Junction. Walker himself would meet with Lee up near Monocacy Junction, get his orders, and be ordered to return here to the aqueduct in an attempt to breach it. Now, Walker would later describe in his after-action report the massiveness of Monocacy Aqueduct, which we can see here.
It's huge!
It is huge. He doesn't have the equipment to effectively breach it. In fact, he would refer to the solidity and the massiveness of its masonry and how he would not be able to breach this structure. We actually would have some of the first casualties of the Maryland campaign occurring right here on the night of September 9th. We have Confederate forces skirmishing with some of the Federal troops that were guarding the aqueduct. Walker himself loses one of his captains in this skirmish, and the Federal cavalry is pushed out of the area. Now, Walker's not going to be here long. In fact, he's going to move off on September 10th due to pressure from Federal forces moving in from the east. And he is at this point going to basically pick up the reins of 191 and begin moving westward. He had initially been told to head for Hagerstown, but with this copy of 191, he will now attempt to move down to Cheeks Ford. He will find that ford threatened, and he'll move a little further up the Potomac River, crossing over at Point of Rocks.